Hey, welcome to
Good
Sales
morning.
Chatter. Got Dan this morning. He's back today. We got Jeff. We've got the amazing Marques. We're going to get into it. Let's start.
Let's go.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
There we go. And Marcus put the phone down. You see that?
Yeah, he did.
Cool.
I feel like we're playing the Brady Bunch today.
Right on cue.
I got to tell you, when we, I remember I was driving my daughter one day, and she said, my phone's going to die. I said, so plug it in and leave it alone. And she plugged in, and I go, I bet you cannot go a minute and a half without touching your phone. It's a minute and a half. Do it. And literally, she's like turned into a crackhead, right? She's like, I'm like, honey, don't touch it. She's, after like a minute, she picked it up. She's like, I just got to see what's going on. I'm like,
there you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've done that with my daughter too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's say good morning, Lisa. Good morning, everybody watching this morning. We have the
Good morning.
amazing Marques Ogden joining us today, the host of Get Authentic with Marques Ogden, one of the top 2% of listened podcasts right now. So congratulations. And I do have to say this, he is actually recently, last week, he's actually a 2022 induction Hall of Fame into the Howard University. One thing that I really liked, welcome to the show, was that, let's give him a clap, man. That's amazing feat, is that him and his dad are actually the first duo to actually be inducted into the Howard University Hall of Fame Athletics. His dad actually still has the shot put record throw, I believe, since 1969. Is that correct, Marques?
That is correct. And I have one other thing to say. We're actually, it's all good. We're actually in the top 1.5% most listened to podcasts worldwide. We hit that at about 2.5 month mark, and we've been out now for 3 months. We launched June 22nd of this year.
That's awesome.
Brother. Way to
That's
go.
awesome. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
I saw that you got like
Appreciate
Shea Hillenbrand coming up like next month, former Blue Jay. He's an amazing guy. Blue Jays are heading into the wild card tomorrow, I believe. So thanks a lot, man. Thanks for coming on the show. Today's Bend Don't Break. We got Dan, as everybody's kind of mentioning there. Welcome back, Dan. So nice to see you again, Jeff and I. So Marques, let's get into it, brother. Like, let us know kind of what your story has been. Like, why are we here today in terms of like your podcast and everything like that?
Yeah, so I'm a former NFL athlete. I was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, played with the Jaguars, Ravens, Bills, Titans. I finished up my career in 07, 08. Then I ended up having a really hard time for about 6 months with what I'm going to do next. I got into alcohol, drug addiction, like painkillers, narcotics to make myself feel better, to self-medicate from all the pain I was going through. And finally, after about 6 months, I put the bottle down, put the painkillers down. I started Caden Premier Enterprises. We were a construction-based company, site work, earthwork, concrete demolition, based out of the Baltimore City area. We became the largest African-American owned subcontracting company in the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland for 2 years. We were doing about close to $15 or $16 million a year in business. But unfortunately, as the company grew, my ego grew right along with it. And I became very self-centered. I became very arrogant. I became very focused on things that are what I call external motivating factors, like money, fame, notoriety, cars, things that you think mean everything, but actually mean absolutely nothing. And I ended up putting myself in a position where I was a dictator, not a leader. And my team picked up on that and became a toxic, negative culture. I do a lot of speaking now about culture. Culture is something you cannot see. It's not going to show up on a data report. It's not going to show up on a profit and loss statement. But if your culture is not strong, if it's not stable, then you will eventually have a business that is not self-sustaining, and you'll lose everything. Because if people aren't happy with the culture and don't feel that their values align with what the company's trying to do, you're going to lose. And that's what happened to me. And went from an 8-figure business annually to bankrupt, broke, lost everything. I had no money. I had both my cars repossessed in the same day when I moved to Raleigh. And I had to literally do anything and everything to try to make myself, and take care of my family. I was not married at the time. I had a girlfriend now I was engaged, who was my wife. I have a stepdaughter. I had a stepdaughter, and I had to take care of responsibility. So I was working at Merrill Lynch for a short time. I got fired from a construction company job. 5 days later, after I was fired from Merrill Lynch, I was fired twice in the same week. And the only job I could get was a custodian working for $8.25 an hour, graveyard shift, 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. in downtown Raleigh. Then I had what everybody calls, my spoiled milk moment, where somebody's trash and rotten meat and nasty protruding garbage got over my body, my skin, and my clothes. And that was my wake-up call. And I realized at that moment, if I don't get myself in a position of taking accountability and responsibility, then I'm going to always be right here for the rest of my life, talking about what I used to do, what I could have been, what I thought I could be. And I said, no more. And I said, let's try to figure out what to do. And I said, yeah, what can I do? And I said, I want to help people. I'm a good storyteller. I'm a good communicator. Let's start speaking. I had listened to a few podcasts by a guy named Tony Robbins at the time. I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. This should be pretty easy to do. Started the business. And for 2.5 years, not one paid job, not one. Finally got my first paid job in April 2016 from Miller Mock College, but still wasn't consistent. And I was actually about to quit speaking. And a good friend of mine, that's one of my best friends, Marlon Kerner, who at the time worked for the Buffalo Bills as their director of player engagement, he actually hired me to come and speak to the rookie class. So like Tre'Davious White and some of those other phenomenal rookies with the Bills. And when he hired me and paid me $2,500 to do a speaking job, I was like, wow, I'm making $2,500 for an hour of my time. And I get to travel on someone else's dime. I get to help these amazing rookies. I can do this. I can get ahead. I can help others. And that pushed me to keep going and going and going. And I finally got consistency. I got coached. I understood the business. So now in the last 6 years, our brand has spoken for approximately 45 Fortune 500 companies as a speaker. We are a consultant. We are a business coach, podcast host, brand ambassador. We align and own parts of different brands that fit with our organization. We're involved in blockchain, all that kind of great stuff. So in reality, I took my struggles and now here we are today.
It's awesome.
I love that story every time you tell it, brother.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah. Every time you tell it, it gets better. That's what happens when you tell your story all the time, right?
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah, I think like it's like inspiring, right? Because like at the end of the day, like we kind of see that in the NFL. You kind of I remember I was telling Jeff yesterday that I was watching the ESPN series Broke the other day, and just all these like former athletes and just like the different things that they went through and the entourage and all that stuff. For you, Marques, like I know you had like your moment where like you said when the garbage got on you and stuff like that. That was your hey, I need to change. Was there a point in your life where you decided, hey, I'm never ever gonna get back to where I was before, and like, does that motivate you daily? Like, what is that like train of thought in your mindset?
So I'll never be a professional athlete again, which is fine. I mean, I'm okay with that. And what I do now in the work, I'm very blessed to have some amazing partners. A lady named Dawn Wiener is a phenomenal business partner. She's helped. Dan knows who she is. She's helped me with so many things, and she came in and we were just the two of us. Like, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were trying to figure things out. And we just kind of got in there, and she kind of just wore all hats. She would do websites. She would do videos. She would do content, like, all this stuff. And then as we started to get some consistency, Dawn stayed by my side. She was always there to help encourage me. And then we brought on a great website guy. And then we finally found a good videographer. Then we finally found a great trademark and patent guy. We finally found a great external manager. We finally found a good marketing person. And so now we have built this team. And what I realized is that I'm never going to be a professional athlete again, which is, again, totally fine. But it doesn't mean that you can't have whatever success is for you because of things you are not going to do anymore. And so for me, I look at success is how many people can I help? How many people can listen to our podcast, get inspired? How many people can listen to a speech, want to go through a wall and actually put things into their life that can make sense for them to actually have results? How many people can I coach that, maybe you're stuck? I mean, I had a lady last night, we're going on a really, really big media platform, big media platform. And I kind of let some people know about it. And, she was like, wow, Marques, I need you to coach me. I'm stuck. I don't like my job. I want to be an entrepreneur, but I'm getting no traction in my social media. I'm getting no traction in what I'm doing. And I said, that's very common because you got to think there's so many people on social media, right? LinkedIn, Facebook, all that. Why are they going to stop and look at your stuff, right? Because if there's no value to them, if you're just posting about you, but there's not a messaging behind you that can relate to them, they're not going to stop. They're not going to look. They're not going to care. It's just not going to happen. So you have to what? Put yourself in a position to get to that. And again, I tell people all the time, our podcast, I launched a podcast, Dan knows this, with another guy. We were doing okay. We had some disagreements. I said, okay, I'm going to part ways. I was like, I'm not going to do another podcast. And then my good friend, Gus Farrat, former NFL quarterback, drafted by the Redskins out of the Commanders now, out of Tulsa. And he was like, hey, man, this is how it's going to be and all this type of stuff. And he said, look, go ahead and do it. Try it. I was like, nope, I don't want to do it. And he convinced me to try it. And then we did. And then I wanted something that wasn't football related. I don't want something that wasn't just sports family. I'll interview sports players or athletes or current or retired or all that, but I wanted something more than that. And we chose Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. And we have been very fortunate. Again, you can get us on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeart, Stitcher, Pandora, YouTube. And we are, like I said, top 1.5% in the world after only 2.5 months. We've been streamed in 22 different countries. I'm talking about countries like Pakistan, Sudan, Finland, Australia, South Africa, Philippines, Spain, Italy, Mexico, Canada. A lot of these places, have no Israel. A lot of these places, India, Germany, have no real love or understanding of American football. But that was the whole point. So I hope your audience gets this. It's okay to move and transition in your life. But here's the catch. If you want to successfully transition, you have to transform your mindset before you transition. If you don't transform before you transition, the transition will go absolutely nowhere.
Powerful.
That's interesting. And there's always that I found anyways, Marques, and I know when you were a custodian, that point where you were covered in other people's trash and sour milk, there's always that point in your life where something happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's this switch, and that switch starts us down a different path. And whatever that path may take us, wherever that path may take any of you, it changes that mindset instantly. I've recently been through one. I know Ryan's been through one. I know Jeff's been through a couple. I know you've been through. I think we all have. And I think a lot of the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the times when we start going down that path, it's like, okay, this is the route. And then our head starts telling us it's not. And we just got to follow that first instinct and stop paying attention to the naysay, the little conversations in our heads that tell us, it was a great idea 2 weeks ago, but now it's not.
Yep.
Well, interesting. You say that, and this is what I tell people, right? There's 4 keys to a great leader. Okay, 4 keys. Somebody can be inventing, somebody that can have great vision, somebody that is good at sense making, somebody that's great at relating. For me, I feel the 2 main, now all 4 are important, but I feel relating and sense making are so important as a leader, because if you can't relate to anybody, you're not going to have a team to lead. If you can't make sense out of things for people are going to get frustrated. They're going to just say, forget this, I'm done. You talk a lot about, mindset and adjustments and things happen in people's lives. Absolutely. One of the critical keys of a great leader is understanding that mindset is more important than execution. Because if your mindset is weak, or it's frail, or it's bendable, or it's something that, you don't know how to have a foundation and deal with hard times, deal with difficulty, deal with loss, deal with, pain, deal with suffering, you're not going to make it. I mean, I'm going through some stuff right now in my personal life, and literally, people say, Marques, how in the hell are you doing everything business-wise after going through all this personal struggle and this personal, hardship? I say, you know what? At the end of the day, I have a responsibility to my clients, and I have a responsibility to the people I'm working with, that I can't allow something in my personal life to affect my business life, my business work, because that is to me a weak mindset. So if you're listening, you can never let your mindset ever get broken or ever lose the foundation. Because if you have, again, if you're trying to execute something and your mindset's not there or not strong, it won't work.
I love that you say that, because like I'm on day 6 of 75 hard, which is like a mental toughness challenge. People think like it's a weight loss challenge, but it's a mental toughness challenge. And one of the things that Andy Frisella says is like, get rid of that. He calls it his bitch voice, but we won't say that. But he says, get rid of that voice in your head that tells you that you can't do it, right? And Marques, I got a question for you, because I know, like you said, you went from you got your first gig, your first talking gig with the director of talent relations, I believe, with the Buffalo Bills. Can you take us through that? Because like a lot of us, like we want change, we want that mindset. How did that first, like even like the first couple, how did those first events go for you? What was running through your head? And was there any kind of self-doubt in your mind when those were happening? I know like after you got that $2,500, you're like, maybe I should do a little bit more. But what was the mindset, and what was kind of run through that for us?
Yeah, before I do that, I want to look at Scott says that not just your mindset, but how to influence mindset as well. Scott, here's the thing, right? You influence your mindset by having a strong mindset first, right? Now, what I hope you mean is that I think what you're saying is phenomenal. And what I hope that I can tell you is that whomever is around you, right, will influence your mindset, right? If you have great people like Dan or Ryan, Jim, all these other people that are very positive, that are very uplifting, it'll influence your mindset to go to the top. If you hang around people that are negative, toxic, drama-filled, they want the negativity, right? Exactly. That's what's going to happen, right? You're going to become that. So what I'm going through right now, somebody in my life, they're around toxic, negative people. And the problem is they are just getting drugged into all the drama, all the crazy. It's making it hard for me to do business with that person, because like everybody's around you, right? So I just want to make sure. Scott's got an excellent point, but I believe influence of our mindset, right? We have to control our mindset. The influence of your mindset comes from who's around you and who you allow to speak into your life. Because if you have great people around you, you can keep going. If you have bad people around you, a lot of times you either get stagnant or you end up going down. But to answer your question earlier, Ryan, it was absolutely a nightmare starting out. Because I started 2013, all my free speeches, not all, a lot of my free speeches for corporate were not very good. There was no messaging, there was no ideology, there was no process, there was no systems. It was me going up there and just talking. And I didn't know how to relate to people. I didn't know how to bring the value. I didn't know how to, close the gap. I didn't know how to follow and stay on a theme to help people see where they need to go. And finally, when I got some really good feedback from a gentleman named Dave Nisvisky, matter of fact, I coached both his sons. They were both, one was a senior, one was a junior. And actually the senior just got married, I think last weekend. I'm like, man, time flies. Dave said, Marques, how do you think you did for this speech for NetApp in Chicago? I said, Dave, I thought I crushed you. I thought I did great. I thought I was awesome. He said, Marques, did anybody come up to you and say you did a great job? I'm like, now that I think about it, no. He said, yeah, great energy, great passion, wrong topic. You were talking about your business life. We are doctors, healthcare. We want to hear more about football and concussions, all that stuff. So for the first time, I realized, wow, speaking is just not going up there telling people what you think they need to hear or what you want to tell them. Speaking is actually about going up there telling them what they need to hear based off what you were hired for. And that's when I had a shift. So again, like I tell everybody, great quote. Every expert was once a beginner. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So my first few jobs sucked. And it's interesting you said, I'm gonna close with this. We'll come back around to you guys for a question. I just did a speaking job for a Wholesome Building Envelope in Nashville last week. 74,000 employee company. And what I love about them is 80% of their leadership team, from what I could see, are female, which I thought was phenomenal. And the woman that hired me, the director of HR, she heard me speak in 2016, 6 years ago. Was I a good speaker? Not really. Did I have passion? Absolutely. And they have 5 P's at Wholesome: partners, passionate, pioneers, performance-driven, positive. My passion, it connected with one of their 5 P's, and she knew that. And then she watched me over time, and then she had me speak right there in that regard. So that's how we're able to get to where we're at now. And so they love us. Now looking at doing some consulting with them, personal coaching for them. It's absolutely huge in that regard. But when I spoke for her, in front, well, I guess when she was there 6 years ago, I wasn't very good, but I just always had the passion to help others. And that's kind of how I got to where I'm at today.
Ryan, pull up Scott's last comment there, because that's so true.
It is. That was a great comment by Scott.
Yeah, because in sales, right? Your passion, your energy, your vibration in sales literally feeds into your prospect. And you could not be a great salesperson, but have so much passion, so much energy, and so much influence, and so much just lightning bolts coming out of you. And people feel that, and they want to be around that, and they want to have more of that. I've always said, leave people better when you get off the phone than when you get on the phone, regardless of what the status is. They don't want to do business with you, whatever it is. Make them feel better than they did when they got on the phone, and bang. I mean, it's crazy how much passion and really starts taking control. And Marcus, you're talking 6 years of passion that this person's watched your consistency, said, okay, it's time.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you all are watching or listening, if you don't take note of those 5 P's, you're not doing yourself justice. Think about this. Right now, Wholesome's probably about a $2 billion company. They're on a growth trajectory to be a $6 to $7 billion company in the next 3 years by buying up other companies. That's their strategy. So if you're not going to take their 5 P's of partners, right, of being passionate, right, of being a pioneer, being performance-driven and positive, put into your own business, into your own life, into your own strategy, shame on you. Because obviously what they're doing is working very, very well.
Yep. And Marcus, going back to your comment about, the positivity and surrounding yourself not with toxic people. You are what you are in the stimulus that surrounds you. Close your inner circle. The past is the past. The present will determine your future. So be in the moment and practice, what you're saying, what you're saying, Marcus, because that's going to get you into the mindset that you need to be successful.
We're going to get real here for a second, right?
Let's do it.
Name other than a sports base or an entertainment base. Name me an African-American podcaster that has a successful or a huge following.
Okay, let's see. Those are quite a bit.
The fact you all taking that long,
Les Brown.
Answer your own question.
Les Brown.
Les Brown,
John Daman.
Les Brown don't have a podcast. John Daman is, Daman John, by the way.
Daman John.
He that's entertainment. Daman John's entertainment. He's not, and Les Brown doesn't have a podcast.
Les Brown doesn't have a podcast?
No. Les Brown should have a podcast. Right?
Should.
Right. Tell me another African-American podcaster that has a huge following that's not sports-based or entertainment-based.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go and tell you.
I could think of people like.
No, I got one. Marques Ogden.
There you go. That's awesome. That's right.
Go get comments here.
I was going to say that, but I said I'm not.
No, I got to ask. Was that a setup question? Because I think that was
that was a Hail Mary. He just kind of threw that down the middle. He had a little slant, and he's like there.
But think about it. Like so Ed Milet, has one, right? Ed Milet, Joe Rogan, right? You talk about Brendan Bouchard, right? I mean, Tony Robbins, right? That's what we're talking about. And what I'm saying is that what happens is if you want to, I'm trying to be a pioneer, right? Could I do things all about sports? Sure, I could, right? But even though there's not a lot of us, it's a crowded space, right? Because if you want to go sports based, you got Pat McAfee, you've got, the Manning brothers, You've got, all that, which is great, right? Then African American, you've got like Shannon Sharp does a phenomenal job. My old teammate Fred Taylor, they have a great podcast, but it's all into sports or entertainment, right? So what I'm trying to do is break out and be a pioneer and say, hey, look, you can be an African American podcaster and talk about business, talk about authenticity, talk about life, right? It's going to take a little bit longer because people are going to be like, wow, this show is interesting. I don't know what could expect. But if you keep going, that's where you can go. Now think about it. Who are the people getting the big checks in this game? Joe Rogan makes what, $70 million a year off his podcast, give or take, right? That's huge, right? Jocko has a podcast. Jocko Wilkes has a huge podcast. He's making millions of dollars off of that, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? Here is exactly the point. The point is, I had to have the mindset, I had to have the passion to know I was starting something that was going to be a pioneer, and I had to get through the starting line to get to where I'm at now. And now we have a huge following, and we're doing great stuff, and people love our show, white, black, female, male, and that's the whole thing. How does Joe Rogan make the kind of money he makes? Because he has such a diverse audience base. Again, Fred Taylor's podcast is awesome, right? Shannon Sharp's is awesome. Now, Shannon Sharp, because he's on TV, can do a lot more and get more marketing, but Shannon's is awesome. They're awesome, right? But they go into one area. And what happens is people are like, well, Spotify or whomever, it's like, well, no, I like this, but it doesn't give enough reach. That's why they pay Joe Rogan all that money. He can reach so many different people because he has all types of guests, even like us this week, right? We had an FBI agent come out today, Philip Davis. I saw you like that, Dan and Ryan. That's right. Then we had Kevin Palmerini, who was a Caucasian top 1% podcast guy. And then we had, who was our other one we had? It's come on. I'm just checking out real quick now. And then we had Susan Wos came out this week. Susan Wos, a Caucasian female that is in the salon owning business. She's like she's a franchisor for a salon business. So a Caucasian female in the salon business, an African-American male that was a former FBI agent, now works with like social injustice issues, and Kevin Palmerini, a white Caucasian top 1% podcast guy, right? And I can go down the list. We've had like Amanda Banks to Misty Buck. I mean, you never know who's coming on our show. You never know.
And I also think a big thing, like if you go back to Joe Rogan, the big thing for me when I would listen to Joe Rogan is, again, authenticity. He was himself. He'd call it like he sees it. But also what I found for the first time was it brought celebrities down to my level, if you will. And this is the one thing when it comes to like speakers on stage and stuff, because I don't know about you guys, but when I first started into the personal development game, I had the thoughts like, oh, well, sure, Tony Robbins is easy for you to say, you own an island in Fiji, but not knowing he actually lived out of his car for like almost a year. And when these celebrities get brought down to a human level, I think we see them differently. If you listen to Joe Rogan, he talks about stuff that is not part of any skit or any gig or anything like that, which I think adds a different level to the podcast. Now, some of the stuff to talk about don't agree with, but again, that's perspective. Sure. We all have them and we're entitled to them.
Right.
But, and I think that's another, process, Marques, is you're bringing people on that are from so many different niches, if you will, and so many different histories to come together and talk about, what got them there and what's the authentic leadership driven principles that got them there. And that's everyone that you bring on is going to connect with a different person, right? There's some people you're going to connect with today and some people are going to be like, yep, didn't connect with it. That's okay. Yeah, and maybe they're going to connect with Jeff tomorrow on something Jeff says, or, this is the reason even Gary Vaynerchuk, he says, I say it's 5 things, 100 different ways. And eventually
his podcast is successful, right? And again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tell people, look, because I got to tell you, I got to call him in 2 minutes, but I am trying to let people see and know they can break through any barrier, right? Just because I'm a former NFL athlete doesn't mean I have to do a podcast about sports, right? It's because you Dan did a podcast that you excel in IT means you can't do a podcast about life, right? Or about child. And again, what I'll tell people is that if you're going to try to do something, pick a theme that people can get behind.
Well, as long as you're authentic about it, Marques, though.
Correct. I like to say that. Yeah, but pick a theme that you know that resonates with you and people can get behind. That's it, right? And in life and in business, you can do that. Like I said, I would love to see more African Americans do more podcasts outside of sports and entertainment. Love to see guys do business or inspiration, and that's what I'm trying to do. It's like I don't want to just get put into a box of like, well, you only do sports, right? Because then you're not as marketable. And this is where, again, this is a business, right? We'll make money in any business. What do you have to do? Appeal to the masses. If you appeal to a certain small percentage of people, eventually you will not get where you want because you're going to get topped out really, really quickly.
You know, so Marques, I know you got to go, but it brings up one very kind of interesting point is, you know, I think a lot of people do what they know. And they're more comfortable in staying in that know, right? So athletes will do a podcast on the sport, right? Just because they're comfortable in it, they know the people, and maybe they can get more traction and get there, you know, quicker, kind of thing, as opposed to saying it's obvious, it's what they know, it's kind of the next thing to do, right?
I'm gonna lead with this. Can I call my client, right? So I'm gonna say, great quote by Jonah Hill, the actor. The comfort zone is where dreams go to die.
100%.
If I would if everybody would say, Marques, what the hell are you doing? You're not going to be the next Tony Robbins. You're not white, 6 foot, blonde hair, blue eyed. You got double tattoos, so you can't be a successful speaker. Just go coach football. You're in Ogden. Stay in your lane. Just be safe. No. That's what you want me to do. If I would have stayed in that space and didn't go through the hardship where I'm at today, my life would be miserable. I'd be coaching football. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I wanted to do. And that's why I had to go in that regard. So again, that's where I'm at, and that's how it moves forward. So again, ladies and gentlemen, in order to get to where you want in life, step out of your comfort zone. The comfort zone is where dreams go to die. You can't achieve greatness and be in the comfort zone at the same time. You make the choice and go from there. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
Done deal, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
I know we'll keep going on here as well. You know, it's like, Jeff, what are you going to think, man? I think like this has been.
I tell you, it's all powerful words, really, Ryan. You know, and what resonated with me, and pretty much how I live and where I am today is that, you know, the past is the past, the present is the present. Stay in the present because it's going to determine your future, and your mindset is the one that's going to create that future and the path that you will mostly travel. So you need to get into that mindset and be able to reach those goals and objectives, whatever they may be. They're different across the board for every individual out there. He's talked about the toxicity in the environment in which people work, you know, or they talk to or engage with. My personal belief is, you know, you are the stimulus that surrounds you. So if you surround yourself with toxic people, there's a high likelihood that you are going to be toxic. So shrink that inner circle and start hanging out and communicating with people that have the same determination, the drive, the likelihood, the positivity. You know, that's how things are going to progress and progress fast. Not the other way around.
You know, I mean, we could have had an hour session with Marques easily.
Absolutely.
And the one piece that was missing out of it all was action. And, you know, and I don't know, DJ, if you're still here, but DJ will tell you from day one, it's okay. You got this inspiration. You got this idea. You got this new thought. What are you doing right now to make it happen?
That's right.
And this is where personal development actually slows people down, because it's really awesome and you feel great watching that YouTube video. You feel great listening to that Brendan Burchard podcast. But what is the application of the information? And that is the biggest thing that people fail on. And it's that immediate action that we have to take. And then it's not only the immediate action, it's the consistent action. When this says you're an idiot, you can't do it, stop doing it, you've never done it before, you're way out of your lane. How do we overcome the little conversation in our head and continue that action? That's what gets us to the next dimension of success, whatever we deem the word success to be. I've seen way too many people, salespeople, managers, business owners, friends, everything. Oh my God, I'm like, awesome. A week later, what'd you do? Oh, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
You're dead. You're done.
Yeah. It's
Like,
preseason all the
get
time.
the idea and go. And if
toe.
you fall flat on your face, great. What did you learn? Move on to the next one. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And it's Cashley says self-imposing labels can really hold us back. It's important for me to practice self-reflection and evaluation to make sure I'm living my best life. 100%.
Absolutely.
And every action you take at every second of every day, every choice you make, just two choices. Rico Rakowski said it best. Every moment we have just two choices. Are you taking that choice and creating that action that's driving you towards that next level of success, or are you not? And I'll tell you, gentlemen, being in cancer wards and stuff for the last couple of months, you see some things that you say to yourself, wow. Yeah. Like you start feeling sorry for yourself, and then you see a little girl this big fighting cancer. And you're like, I don't feel sorry for myself. Let's go. Take action. And to me, action is the key to everything. Everything. Great words. Marques had awesome words. If he never took action on any of it, he wouldn't be speaking here today.
No.
Well, Dan, you bring up a great point, because like I've always been a believer in that. Hey, motivation is cool. I don't really care about motivation, but it's discipline is going to get me where I need to go. You know, knowing that, hey, if I'm talking about a sales perspective, I got to do this. If I know that I want to be a great yoga person, it's not going to be, hey, I go to one hot yoga class and hey, I'm an amazing person at this. So it's discipline that gets it through. And like Jeff kind of says, you know, it all starts with your circle. Like I remember this in college and university. It's like you hang around with the clowns, you become part of the circus, right? And that's something that's I've always kind of instilled in myself. Just having that people around you, like Dan, you know, we got our inner circle together and motivate daily, you know, and kind of keep us pushing forward. But it's like you're saying, Dan, it's like going with that action, because even for myself coming on here, like a big thing for me too was like, hey, am I going to be successful? Is Jeff and Dan going to like me? Like, we're good as friends, we're good as business people, but am I going to be worthy enough to be here? And then I just jumped into it, right? And I've like, you know, Jeff, we've been killing it for the past however long we've kind of been here. Looking forward to working with Dan, but it's like, go after it. You know, who cares what happens, you know? Like I know, like even Bill Shaw, I'm not gonna go into debt with this. I'm not gonna die. No one's gonna kill me. So like, what's the worst that can happen, right? So
exactly, you know. And I use myself as an example.
That's to you. That's to you, Ryan. And that's my soulmate right there. That's my wife.
Oh, well, it's funny enough you're saying that, because my wife is Kayshri. Kayshri's my wife. So we got both our wives on here this morning.
There you go.
Both our ladies are on.
Yeah. There you go. Where's mine?
Should he get the memo?
Oh no, to use myself as a really good example, right? Talk about getting uncomfortable. Listen, I was on the operations side for 35 years, never did sales whatsoever, right? So I took this giant ass leap of faith that said, let me use my experience and let's see where this goes. But I couldn't just sit here and do nothing about it. I had to start engaging with people, reaching out to the people in my network, start asking these questions, and basically rely on what I knew. I'm still uncomfortable. I'll be perfectly honest, but I'm moving at a very good speed, a lot faster than I thought that I would ever go, because the passion and the drive is there. I know what I'm seeing. I like what I see. I want more of it. And, you know, even coming on the show and Dan inviting me to do this kind of stuff, I'm not the kind of guy that gets in front of a camera and does this kind of stuff. I am now, because it doesn't bother me. But those are the type of things that you have to do. To be successful, you have to get uncomfortable, and then you have to create that mindset, and you have to have that positivity. I live by my words when I say I look forward to Mondays on Thursdays and Fridays, because I can't wait for that day to come, because I know what's coming down the pipeline. I created that, and there's no better feeling when you get to that level, when you get those things coming down the pipeline and you feel that, you get re-energized and you want to go, go, go. And that's what it's all about. So take that leap of faith, you know, get uncomfortable, and you will enjoy every moment of it. I promise you.
Jeff, think of this, and ask. And we have salespeople that are on the show that are listening. How many of you love cold calls? And let me rephrase that. How many of you loved cold calls when you first started? No one. It was terrifying. It was
It's
terrifying. I'm going to get hung up on. You know, DJ put here, motivation is what to get you started. Habits is what keeps you going.
Yes.
The action of the phone calls creates the habit. Without action, there is no habit. So you get one phone call and you're like, oh my God, that phone call went well. That creates the motivation for the next phone call. And then it just keeps rolling. But when you look at it, everything is terrifying when we first start. If you've never water skied, it's terrifying when you're in the water and you got the skis and then the boat pulls and you got to try and get up. If you've never wakeboarded, if you've never snowboarded, if you've never snowmobiled, if you've never, you know,
Even
like
if you've never
whatever
driven a car,
driven
you
a
know?
car.
Yeah, we've all been through that.
Everything is
Exactly.
terrifying because
Well, the
it
thing
pulls
is
us out of our comfort zone. But it's the action that we take that mitigates or flattens that terrifying curve and creates that next level. And Bob Proctor said it best. He says, here, listen, he says, you're on a wavelength, and say this wavelength is country. You're never going to hear rock and roll. And all personal development is we take action and we go to another wavelength.
Mhm.
And we take action and we go to another wavelength. Or we don't take action, or we take the wrong action, we go to another wavelength. That's all it is. That's
Right. But
all it is. And when we simplify it, it becomes easy. You know, Ryan, you said something. You said, well, you know, I go out and I go after this and I'm not going to die. I'm not going to go broke. What if you do?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Like, what if you do? Okay. So
But you
what?
won't.
Then you go back to the basics. Okay, that didn't work. Let's retool.
Well, if I die, I don't think I could really, you know, like.
No, we'll die on a different story. I said,
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. But I mean, with anything, right? We look at what we've experienced over the last couple of months. We're in the process of building one of the biggest things to hit our industry. Has it been tough? Have we hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock? Yeah. But it's the inner circle that's going to bring this to life.
Correct.
And it's the continuous saying, okay, no, it's not good enough. It needs to be better. It needs to be better. It needs to be better. And it's that consistent action every day, regardless of what's happening. Yeah. And that's what's going to take us to the next level. Action.
Yes.
Jeff,
you know,
So all of you out there that have this idea and you want to do it, go do it.
Yeah.
And who cares if it's 1 hour a night or 2 hours a night and you got your day job and all this other stuff. I get that. And we've all been there. And I think we all are there. I mean, I remember starting high performance logistics sales while I was a salesperson at a company and literally saying to people, okay, we're going to have a conference. And my manager calling me and saying, if you have that conference, you are fired. And I said, well, why? He says, well, you're training salespeople. I go, but I'm a commissioned salesperson. I'm not an employee. I'm a commissioned salesperson.
More
so what does
pressure.
it have to do with it? And I'm having an argument with the bread and butter of my life, like my job, what brings in the money to help pay bills. And I'm having an argument because my side gig is more important because it's going to help 10,000 sales reps generate $1 million GP each. But I had a huge fight with my company. I remember Christine and I, we were out on our anniversary up in the middle of nowhere, up in what do you call it? North Ontario, I forget. Anyways, just by the Indian Reserve North. And so, I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. I'm surprised I had reception. I get a phone call saying, hey, you know, the COO just saw this ad on LinkedIn, this post on LinkedIn that you got like 5 seats left for this conference. You can't have it. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Of course I can. You don't control what I do on my spare time. This is at 6 o'clock at night. It has nothing to do with you. And that's the action that you have to be willing to take in order to create something successful. Because I believed in it. And I was willing to fight that fight because of my belief. It's important.
It is. It is. But you know what? To what you said before, action and habits, where you have to make it a habit to have the action. So when you wake up in the morning, you have to make a habit that this is what you're going to do. Like I have a habit every morning when
I wake up. It starts with action. Action creates the habit.
Right.
Because you can't just wake up in the morning saying, I need a habit.
No, I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to disagree with that because you've got to set action doesn't come before habit. You got to basically start, like, you've got to put in your mindset that, hey, I'm going to do this. Like, even for me, like something like, hey, if I'm going to start yoga or something like that, or we're going to start a new thing, it's going to be like, okay, I put that action into my mind and then I actually do it. And then the next day is where action takes over. But habit has to come first.
You see, Okay, so this is fun because I like this. Habit is something that does not happen on day one. So you have to take the action before the habit. You look at anything, and everyone will tell you, all scientific studies, all psychological studies have all pointed to somewhere around that 28-day period for things to become a habit.
Yeah.
What do you have to do in 28 days for it to be a habit? You have to take action on it every day.
Mm-hmm.
So
but it's a task.
Mindset might be, I'm going to take action and create this habit. The intention, I guess, is maybe a better word, or the inspiration to do it.
Intention,
but you have to take that action every day to create the habit. Right? Just like if you go back to tying your shoes, and something is so simple as that, right? As a kid, you had to take that action every day where your hands are all twisted up trying to do the loops, and then all of a sudden it just becomes normal, and it's like you don't think about it, right? Because that's all a habit is. Habit is something that's done through our subconscious mind where we're not even thinking about it. Backing out of the driveway, pulling in the driveway, turning. Like driving is pretty much a habit for most people. Yeah. But when you first start driving, it's like, and everything's going, you know what I mean? It's huge. Right? Like, yeah, now everybody's chiming in here.
Yeah, everybody's chiming in. Yeah. But I want to go back to this because I know, like, my wife asked Jeff a specific question here for you that I kind of wanted to get into for Jeff here. Is like, do you think the feeling of discomfort is what helped you grow?
Absolutely. You have to be discomfort, or you have to be uncomfortable in order to grow. Anybody, I call it the bowl syndrome. Some people like to hang on the edge within the bowl. I like to go off the edge and hang out there and see what the hell's out there. Because that's how you learn. If you get into that comfort zone, you're just going to be going back and forth inside the bowl. When you start learning things is when you're able to take that leap of faith, hang off the edge of it, and dangle there for a little while and see what's out there. If you don't go out there to see what the possibilities are, you're always going to be in that bowl. So if you want to succeed, you have to get uncomfortable, hang off that edge, and basically take that chance. And if you believe in yourself, it's all here. Nobody's going to create that for you, only yourself. You have to create that mindset in order to move forward. You don't have the proper mindset or the positivity or the drive or the determination to get to those goals and those objectives. You will fail miserably. When I started out in this business, I made $9,000 on the first year. Because I did everything wrong. I did absolutely everything wrong because I didn't really believe in myself. Like I said, I wasn't the sales guy, but then those things started turning. This isn't working. I need to create something. I need partnerships. I need the correct partnerships. I need to start tapping into my past, my experience. And then that started taking over. And now things are starting to go in the right direction, and they're moving quicker than I ever thought. And next year is going to be mind-blowing for me. But it took failure in order to reach, let me take this back. Am I successful? No, I don't think that I will ever be successful, because what Dan said, success is only in the mind of those who want to believe whatever success is, right? I don't believe that there's a finish line, because if there's a finish line, then you're done. But you're never done, because you're always trying to reinvent yourself, solutions, whatever it might be, in order to move forward. If you stop dead and you stop thinking, your creativity, your solutions, whatever it might be, you're not going to move anywhere. So that's why I've always said there is no finish line in logistics. I'm sorry. Anybody that believes that, they're dead wrong. Okay. Because things are changing so rapidly. You have to keep on moving forward.
Well, this is one of the downfalls with a lot of salespeople, and I've seen it thousands of times. They hit $5,000 a week, and they're like, "Oh man, I can't wait to hit 10," and then $5,000 they settle in and they start coasting. Yeah, and they start coasting, and that's their finish line, and they've arbitrarily created a finish line for themselves. And here's the really wild thing is, they get to $5,000, they're a good salesperson, they can sell. And then they coast for so long, they lose a couple of customers.
They forget.
Now they have to resell. Now they have to go through that whole process again of the belief in themselves. And do I suck? Am I really good at this? Can I really do this? Why is nobody listening to me? And not to mention, there's a second part of it that I found as well. And trust me, in the first part of my career, I coasted. I got up to $10,000 a week, and I was like, dude, I'm 18 years old and I'm making
And just to add into that point,
$2,000 a week.
to add to that, Dan, it's just because it's your surroundings as well. Because even for
Mhm.
myself, we coasted too when the other guys, the other senior guys, were getting up to a certain point and they just coasted, right?
Mhm.
So it's like we're like, if my biggest thing, and we'll get back to you, is just that like the most I successful was when I was around people who were just banging out calls, banging out those emails. They were always hungry. Our floor sounded like a stock trading floor every single day. You wouldn't believe this, right? But when I was around the
Trust
seniors
me,
who didn't,
boiler rooms are all
right?
over the logistics world.
Yes. So there we go.
But yeah, it's and it's, again, you talk inner circle, you talk taking action, right? You talk your inner circle, you have people around you banging out calls. You're going to feel less fearful of hearing a no because everybody else around you is hearing no. It's going to make you take that action. You're going to take that action. You're going to get better at it because you take it. It's a confidence, competence loop that's going to start building and creating the rings in your tree. And this is where all greatness, I'm not even going to say success, greatness comes from.
Yeah. Is
those around you are the key. And then you have that mindset. You believe in yourself, obviously. I mean, there's a multiple faucets that we have to really focus on and pay attention to. But the reality is, man, I've seen people pound out calls while everybody else isn't because they're in their own zone and they're saying, you know what, I'm done. I got to do my own thing and I don't need people around. But those people that are doing it have phone calls with people that are, progressive. They have lunches with people that are progressive. So they're creating their own community, not necessarily in their department. Because I'll tell you, and when I was in my last sales gig, I didn't talk to very many people in the company. I wasn't that guy that stood around the water cooler. Like I was there on a mission. And it negatively impacted some people. They're like, oh, Dan, thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. I'm like, no, I just don't have time to talk about a person that cut you off for 30 minutes this morning. I got things to do. I got a mission to accomplish. I got goals to achieve. And I'm going to sit in my office and I would put on, an audiobook. That was who I would surround myself with. And I think personally, as long as you're taking the action, that's fine. They don't have to be like you guys where I can call you up at the drop of the dime. They can be the Tony Robbins of the world with a great message. They can be certain people, but you just surround yourself with those messages of people that bring you forward. And then you need one or two people where you can run ideas by and, actually communicate with. But, it's this amalgamation of this works for me, this works for me, this works for me. Things that work for me might not work for the two of you.
100%. Yeah.
Right. And it's finding your balance. It's finding what that happy medium is that keeps you going.
Yeah, it's that me versus me kind of lifestyle, right? Like, it's really, when you look at the mirror, like when you go to the gym, you're not looking at the jacked guy with all the muscles and stuff and be like, oh shit, it's me versus him. You're looking at the mirror. It's like, hey, progression. You look at the scale. You're looking at what you're
Ryan,
eating,
the problem is most people look at the jacked guy and go, it's me versus him, right? Like, think about it. Yeah. Anytime you go into something you don't know, we just as humans, we tend to compare ourselves against somebody that's really good at it.
Yes, 100%.
Right? Like you talk marketing, you talk sales. I suck at sales. Oh, but this guy down there that's doing $1 million a year, he's awesome. Really? Well, what about the guy that's right beside you? We tend not to do that, right? And it's crazy. It's crazy how the mind does that to us.
Yeah, but something, to Ryan's statement there. Seriously, you are your own worst enemy. That's what it comes down to. You will self-destruct with that kind of mindset. You really don't compare others. They don't F them, man. I'm telling you right now, it's about you, not about them. That's what it comes down to. It's that, going back to that mindset. What are you comparing against? You're going always, there's no apples to apples or oranges to oranges. It's apples to oranges, oranges to apples. You are your own self-made person. Nobody creates you. You can have the right stimulus around you. You can have all the positivity in the world, but who's going to make those critical decisions day in and day out, week over week, year over year? You, nobody else. That's what it comes down to, and those are the struggles that people have out there when they just don't have that mindset. It's all up here and it can be very self-destructing.
Yeah, it's just like my thought every day. Like I'll never be able to grow facial hair like Jeff, so I just give up. Like I just go like here, right?
Grow grain.
Dude, I have to start like in June for my Movember. Okay, guys.
Oh, you do,
Yeah.
bro. I gotta start when is November? November. I gotta start November 1st.
Yes, I know, Ryan.
By
You shave
lunch
in the morning, you have a beard at night. I know, I get it. But you know what? So here's one thing, and Scott says it best: is your greatest competition. Ryan, I love the fact that you said it's you against you. So was the second phone call better than the first phone call? Was the second email written better than the first email? Did the second or third email get better engagement than the first email? Did the second presentation rock better than the first presentation? Mm-hmm. And if we focus on that and just focus on getting better at what we do, at what we can bring to the table, you're going to find it, right? Like think about it, just in logistics, okay? 12% of the global GDP is logistics. Okay. It's like $178 trillion or something stupid is this industry.
It's outrageous.
Now, there's a piece of the pie for everyone.
We said that yesterday. Yeah. Everybody could eat. Everybody
can eat. Everybody could be actually very wealthy. Forget about eating. Everybody can do the surf and turf shit, right? Like I'm telling you, this industry is the greatest industry on the planet because everything you see, smell, touch, pretty much has hit a truck. So that competition mindset, that if I let Ryan make that phone call, I'm not going to get that, is not accurate, right? Like progress, not perfection. Exactly. And you know what? And Rob, every time, if you just progress, you will reach your definition of that perfection, right? Like I don't know how many times I would take the rebuttals from customers or from prospects and I'd write them down.
Yep.
And then I'd write what I said. And then for an hour every day, I'd go over the 15 of them and I'd say, how can I say that better? How can I say that better? And I remember a salesperson walking in my office and goes, what are you doing? I said, I had some rebuttals today and I'm trying to improve them. He goes, why? So, well, because I want to get better at it. And he says, yeah, but isn't that like a waste of your time? Are you really going to remember that? I said, well, yeah, because I'm going to spend hours reading it and understanding when they say A, I'm going to say B.
Yep.
And then I'll measure the traction I get. And maybe I'll change it to C, D, or E. But if you don't start there, how do you know? How do you know you're getting better? You don't.
And how do you know you're not going through the motions, right? Just like, hey,
next
email. Boom.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I got to say, Ryan, I love your camera. You're using a DSLR, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I'm doing that.
Yeah, I know.
Dude,
I was going to say that.
I love the way it pulls you.
Oh, you should see my setup, man. My setup's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah,
man.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I like it. I may change mine out. But listen, to get back.
You see, now we're comparing our setups to Ryan's. See how that happens? 2 seconds. All it took was 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
So seriously, you were talking about improvement and killing it and stuff. How about this show, man? This was like one of the best shows that we've had in quite some time, man. We knocked it. I mean, these are the kind of things that pump me up when we get into these conversations. I mean, whoever doubts that this show wasn't good, I'd love to hear from them because, man, this was kick-ass. It really was. I mean, it was a great conversation. And if this is called success, then I would say this is a successful show if you're basing on something, because this was really a good show. I don't know how you
people that it didn't do anything for. And that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. This was good. I think we hit a lot of good points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the big takeaway is we're just not going to be for everybody, and it's just like when it comes to our logistics, right? We're just not. But that's another topic. I know we're getting to an hour here. I know we got things to do, but Dan, we missed you, man. We missed you.
Thanks. You know what? It's
so glad to see you.
I'm really happy my voice has lasted. I was really afraid. It's been a fucking nightmare for the last couple of weeks, but I'm getting back to the energy levels starting to rise. Not really where I want it to be. I'm still kind of at a 4 instead of a 10, but it's okay. It'll come.
Some days you can be.
Thank you, man. Thank you for taking the time off.
Yeah, thanks for taking time off. And honestly, before we kind of go, I just want to shout out your amazing wife, Christine, who's been like your rock throughout everything.
She's
like
a rock star. She's a rock star.
You know when they say rock, right? They the way I look at it is she is the bottom part of the iceberg when it comes to that foundation. And just, I can't say enough how much I've understood the power of love and the power of having a solid person around you through all of this. And, it's, I love you, baby. And it's crazy how these things truly bring you to another level. And I never thought a disease like cancer would bring me to another level of awareness, right? It's always that devastation, and the level of awareness that I'm at now, I don't think I could have ever got there unless I got cancer. And I know it might sound morbid to some people, and I don't want it to sound morbid. It's reality. We go through these things in life. When we come out the other side, we're not, I'm not going to say we're not the same person, but we think differently.
Yeah.
And that thought process is now going to bring me to the next level of my life, because she's just awesome. You're the best, baby. I love you to death.
There's no better than that. So want to thank everybody for coming out this morning. Today was a jam-packed episode. If you found value in it, please share it with somebody that you think could help their day. Please comment, please like it, please give us some more questions. We can definitely help your day out more. We'll be hitting the replay at 12 p.m. Eastern time and 3 p.m. Eastern time on all social channels such as LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Tomorrow is going to be wins and lessons. I know we're going to have Dan tomorrow, and we'll get more into that of kind of his wins and lessons over the past couple months. And Jeff, always a pleasure, brother. We've been
here, brother.
It's thank you, Marques, again for coming this morning, and thank you, Dan. Love you guys.
Thank you,
See you guys
boys.
tomorrow.
Love it.
Have a great day.
Centurion Trucking, our motto is people before profit. Today's market requires more transparency, consistency, and focus on what our clients need to win. Centurion Trucking and American Logistics are poised to help their clients achieve and surpass their targets. If you're looking for a team that honors your needs, dreams, and aspirations, then get a hold of Daman at American